Welcome to another episode of Shred's Takes. I hope you guys enjoy today's episode, and let's get it rolling. Hello, everybody. I'm Mike Shredder. This is Shred's Takes. I'm joined by Columbia women's basketball players Paige Lauder and Abbey Hsu. Abbey Hsu, excuse me. So I appreciate you guys both coming on to the podcast. For those who don't know, Columbia's women's basketball team is a staple of good excellence of the program under Coach Griffith, and these are two of their better players. Abbey came off playing for USA basketball this past summer. Also is, in the Becky Hammond preseason award list. And Paige also was a really big contributing member last year, averaging over 6 points a game as well. So both of them know a lot about basketball and are successful basketball players themselves. So, guys, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. Really appreciate you taking some time.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Happy to be here.
Absolutely. So, senior year for you guys. I was there last year, so I know that definitely is a big year for you guys going in to try and be successful. What's it been like basically going into your senior season? How's that been for you?
Yeah, I think it's like almost bittersweet because you almost don't want the journey to end, but then it's kind of rewarding to be able to, like almost pass the torch to the younger kids and, see the program excel. And we know it's in great hands when we leave. So it's a bittersweet feeling.
Yeah, I definitely would echo the bittersweet feeling. I've had a great experience here, but we're not done yet. We have a whole nother season with unfinished business. So we're just excited to get after it and make the last year the best one.
Oh, yeah.
So you guys won the Ivy League championship last year, which is obviously an incredible accomplishment. So first of all, congratulations to you guys on that. But talk a little bit about just kind of that experience and what you can take from that going into this season, because again, the Ivy League is really competitive. So I think that, you probably definitely learned some things from that success and what to take into this year.
Yeah, I think it's like not a question on how do we do it? Like we know what to do. It's more so holding that standard for everyone else. And like you said, like we have a whole new team, almost half a new team. So kind of like telling them what it takes to get there and what you go.
I think it just gives us a lot of momentum to bring into this year.
Mm-hmm.
Like last year, there were so many records broken, but like there's still so much to do. So I think part of us is like we have unfinished business, but also it's like we have the confidence to know like how we can get there. And like we have a great new group that's really excited, really hungry with this fresh new energy. So it's just like building off of last year.
Yeah, exactly what she said.
Yeah. Would you say you have to pivot your leadership in a sense with having a younger group? Because I at Amherst College where I played, I know like I had a very old team when I walked in, and then my last 2 years, like I was the elder statesman. Like I took a year off, so like I was a fifth year senior, mentoring young players and that kind of thing. Do you think like has your leadership changed? I know you were a junior last year, both of you guys, but has that changed at all having a younger team, or do you guys kind of have the same approach entered this season from a leadership standpoint? Just because I know it's huge to the success of a team.
Yeah, I think we both like stepped up in more of a leadership role, but I think it's more so just like building off of what our seniors taught us last year and bringing that, but then also the young people that we have on our team now this year, like they're so smart, they're picking up on things way quicker, so kind of makes our jobs easier. But I think for us it was just the step that we took from last year, just being more vocal, because we don't have those 7 seniors that are, kind of taking, voicing, their leadership on the court every single day. So stepping up in that space was huge for us this year. And I think we're definitely working towards that.
Yeah, totally. And like I even find myself, like, I know I'm more vocal, like at practice than I was last year, just because like Abbey said, there's like 7 voices that like we need to fill a void for. But it's like I know we were ready, like we had great leaders ahead of us, so we're just trying to do what they did for us to the younger girls.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And just kind of bringing it back in a sense, you don't get to playing high level college basketball without developing a passion for it. Talk a little bit about where that developed for both of you guys, if it was different, similar, where that passion developed for the game of basketball.
Yeah. For me, I've always just been an extremely competitive person. Maybe it's because like I have an older brother, so it was just constantly battling like who's better at what, who's the quote unquote best of the household. So I think we had a basketball hoop in our driveway, so that was like the main thing we played. So that's where the love of the game came for me, just like trying to be better than my brother, and then kind of just blossomed from there, I guess. I don't know if that's the
So
right word.
poetic.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say I'm pretty similar. Like, I also have two brothers, and just growing up, I was like kind of wanting to do what my brothers were doing. And like, my dad was very big on getting us into sports. So like, I just remember like being in the driveway with my dad and my younger brothers, and just like playing, competing. And I don't know, I think when I was younger, like just because I was so like tall, I kind of had like a natural like inkling to like play and like just a little bit of like that advantage in the beginning. And then the more I played, the more I fell in love with it. So, but definitely goes back to brothers and my dad kind of inspiring me with it.
How many of those one-on-ones did you guys win growing up?
In the beginning, not many. Just my brother was like huge.
I mean, my brother's 6'7". So like, I felt like I beat him more growing up, and now he beats me more, but I beat my dad more now. So it's like kind of flipped it because now my dad's just like slow.
Yeah, that always feels good when you kind of beat your older sibling in a sense, just because
Yeah.
you feel like you've actually accomplished something. But Paige, I wanted transition a question over to you. You grew up in Philadelphia, played obviously a lot of AU basketball. I know Philly basketball has a lot of really good players.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about kind of that whole AU experience, maybe even tie it into just kind of your high school basketball experience and how you felt that the Columbia was the right fit out of going through all of that, because again, the recruiting process is daunting. And so kind of talk about just that whole experience and ending up at Columbia and that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so I have been playing or played AU since like 4th or 5th grade. I played for the Philadelphia Comets my whole career. Kind of like bounced around on different teams there, but like that was a great program, a lot of great exposure. Like we were in Chicago, Louisville, I don't know, like Indianapolis. Like we went everywhere. We played on the Under Armour circuit their first year. So it was like the EYBL, but like the Under Armour version. So we got a lot of great exposure there. And Coach G actually went to my high school. So that's how I got the initial connection, like played for my high school coach. So we have that Philly connection. And then like just through the recruiting process, I said I always wanted to go to a place that like felt like family. And I know a lot of schools say that they're like, oh, like we're a family, but it's like I really felt that here. And like the connections I made just as a recruit, I was like, if I can become this close with the staff and team, I can imagine it would be like if I was actually on the team. And something else that really excited me was the fact that like Coach G was like building something great. Like I didn't want to just walk into a program that was maybe more established, but I wanted to like help like rewrite history of a program and like bring so many firsts to a school. And so that's why I chose Columbia. And I'm so happy here. Like I wouldn't change my decision for anything.
And my next question for you, Paige, is it's a little bit from an academic standpoint. So, in high school, if you go look at the bio, it talks about math and Spanish Honor Society. So talk a little about just kind of transferring those skills, if at all. I mean, just again, that's a pretty interesting way of success, I would say, just because math, I would say, like you hear that a lot, but also tying in Spanish as well. Did you carry that over to Columbia at all? It's kind of a side question, but I found that kind of interesting when I was doing research.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just gave me like a little bit of like a background to like fall like onto. Like I still took like elementary 1 Spanish as a freshman, but like having like a solid Spanish background, like it made those classes easier. And I think just like it just taught me like a hard work ethic. Like I knew how to work hard. I knew how to get good grades in high school. So I think that made my transition to college a little easier. But I would say the biggest thing was it's like some of the stuff I was learning freshman year wasn't the first time I was learning it or seeing it. Which kind of made those classes a little easier because I know it's a big transition freshman year, but I felt like I definitely had a little bit of an advantage maybe.
Yeah. So Abby, I want to try and transition some questions over to you. Look, you have some awards that, probably for you, you're probably not really focusing that heavily on it, but it's abundantly clear that, like the Becky Hammond preseason mid-major award obviously is looming over. Can I just talk a little bit about just kind of blocking that out in a sense, but like trying to maintain that success? Because you obviously came off a really terrific junior year. You've had a terrific year, terrific career at Columbia. But talk a little bit about just like blocking that out, but also focusing on like diversifying your skill set, because anyone who like looks at your skill set knows that you're an incredible shooter. It's pretty evident when I watch the Basketball Mania as well. So just kind of talk about like diversifying your skill set, kind of staying focused on getting yourself to be the best player for this team, both from like a leader standpoint and from actually a player standpoint.
Yeah. In terms of like diversifying how I play, I've had this goal for like many years, but it's different when you actually start applying it. Is just becoming more of a two-way player, like actually being able to defend. Like I want to be able to, be the best player offensively on the floor, but then also guard the best player on the other team. So just trying to push myself in that sense, I think could kind of separate me from other like shooters around the country, because I think shooters have a bad rep and like they don't defend, but trying to break that
Defensive
stigma.
Player of the year over here.
Yeah. But in terms of like trying to block that out, I'm not really focused on those awards. I realize like when you try to focus on those awards, it ends up backfiring on you, I think. But in terms of like goals for the team and like how Coach Hsu wants me specifically to play and like how we play as a program, it kind of goes into that award. It's almost like we like to play fast, we like to score a lot of points, and she wants me to shoot a lot of shots. So that kind of goes into like that aggressive mindset. And I think if I have that mindset, both defensively and offensively, it kind of goes into like separating myself on that list for the award.
Yeah, no, I figured that would be kind of the direction you would take that question. Just one thing interesting enough before I get into talking a little bit about Basketball Mania, because I thought that was a fantastic event for you guys, just to be able to get the community out there to represent. I know you guys get a lot of fans. That's what I've heard from talking to some people around campus. But one thing I want to talk about is just, one thing that I find interesting is I went to the sports management conference and your coach obviously spoke there. And the one thing was just the idea of just like everyone being connected as a team and a family. And a lot of things, sometimes people say that and actually, it's just words, but from what I hear, it really resonates with you guys. Just kind of talk about like kind of developing that throughout your time and like, trying to continue to foster a family like atmosphere, because ultimately, regardless of where you go in your careers, like that's going to stick with you, like the relationships you build with your teammates. Just kind of talk about that, like the family that you've built within the women's basketball program.
Yeah. You want or
yeah, I can start that. I mean, I think the best thing about playing for this program is it's so much more than just basketball, like on the court. The coaches are so invested in our lives off the court. Like we have such a great alumni network. Like we're constantly talking to alums. Like Coach G helped me get an internship before. Like the coaches are just so invested in like how we are as people. Like I always say, they coach us hard, but like they love us even harder off the court, which I think is really cool. And I don't think you find that a lot of other places.
Yeah, and I think what also builds that family is like we really, we weren't there from day one when Coach G got this job, but like we really went through the adversity and helped build this program up. Like we were there, like what I think my freshman year, the season before, like it was bad. Like we were one of the worst teams in the country, and then wasn't amazing my freshman year either. So I think going through those adversities together and like losing together, winning together, it all goes into that. Like Paige said earlier, we didn't just come into a perfectly ran program, or it's really good ran, but we didn't come into like a winning program. So going through those hardships together really brought us together a lot, I think.
For sure. I definitely I think that from what I've heard and seeing you guys play, I definitely can see that. I think it's going to be exciting to see how you guys continue with that success going forward. Speaking of just a successful event, as I mentioned earlier, Basketball Mania happened, right? I was there. Really awesome experience for you guys. It was cool. Just kind of, I think, not just to make it only about basketball, but like the different, just kind of like the personalities you have in your team, like the idea of engaging with the New York City community in a sense that supports you. Just talk about like what that meant, because just from like a player standpoint now, like having that community behind you and the benefit that event maybe can help you for this season, if at all.
Yeah, I think it just gets the Columbia name out there more to the students or the New York population within the community. Just like they get to see a side of us that's not necessarily like tipping a ball and like playing basketball. Like you said, see us being goofy, like we're dancing, we're messing up, we're laughing. And then there's competitions in there to kind of see like, oh yeah, they could hoop if they've never seen us play before. Like, I don't know. I think it's a great way for them to kind of know us a little more personally than just, what they see in games.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. I think it just like really shows like the community we have behind us. Like not only were there just like students there, but there were so many like families and like little kids, and like we're doing autographs afterwards, and kids are like, oh, like I come to all your games, or like you're my favorite player, like stuff like that. So it's just so cool to see that like it like it's so much more than just basketball. I feel like we really kind of like rallied a whole community behind us. And like Abby said, it's a fun way to showcase like our personalities because like we are so much more than just basketball players. But like it truly is just like a family atmosphere, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's actually like I think the question I wanted to transition to is one thing, at least being in a sports management program, is they talk about how sports is just much more than being athletes. A big reason why I started the podcast was because of that, because I think a lot of times athletes get misunderstood. They kind of look at the statistics and what you play, and that's what they base your success on. Talk a little bit just about kind of goals you guys have outside of basketball, whether it's, look, maybe it's playing professional basketball, which again, that's an incredible opportunity if that does happen or when that does happen. But talk a little bit about even just like, interest that you guys have for the future, just because I think that's even more, if or equally important to just what you guys are as athletes. Cause it's just, again, talks about, as I talked about earlier, like diversifying the portfolio in a sense.
Yeah, okay, I can start with this. I mean, after basketball, like I definitely want to get into the world of finance, into banking. And like I've had internships in that space before, and I think being an athlete has given me such an advantage in those types of situations with like my work ethic, or just like Coach G like harps on like the details, paying attention to the little things, and like the teamwork aspect. Like I interned at JP Morgan this past summer, and like I would leave the office and like be like, okay, like I'm going to practice, and people were like, practice, like I'm going to bed, and I'm like, well, I have like stuff to do. So like I think just being an athlete, like you know how to grind, you know how to get things done. So I think sports have taught me such like amazing lessons that I'll definitely take into my future. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the plan is to play as long as possible. I kind of want to use basketball as a vessel to take me wherever it's going to lead me. I think it could open so many doors, which is such a cool thing about the sports world. And you meet so many people, so many connections, and I've already met so many amazing people. So I'm like, okay, if I continue playing, I'll just meet more amazing people, and maybe I'll end up in a job that I'll really like. But right now it's kind of just seeing where it takes me. I'm not focused on one specific like industry or anything. So yeah, I'm undecided in that realm.
Yeah. And, I kind of both, it's different kind of, I'd say, interests, but the one thing is you guys are pursuing your passions. I think that's ultimately what this is about, right? I think that's a really important thing. But I want to say on behalf of myself, like I really appreciate you guys coming on to the podcast. Like I know you guys are busy gearing up for season, and I appreciate you taking a few minutes here to kind of talk about your experiences. I definitely think it's worthwhile to the athlete community, and even just beyond that, to kind of hear a little bit about Columbia women's basketball and the success that has been built there and will be continued to be built there. So I wanted to say thank you so much for taking some time, and really appreciate it.
No, thank you. Thanks for having us.
Of course. No, we're always happy to be here. Happy to promote the Columbia women's basketball brand.
So you made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Check the couple of videos right here, and also make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel, and we will see you guys soon.